That's what's the most concerning thing I think about a potential shutdown, right? Is that even if you can get the Republicans and Democrats in the Senate on the exact same page, Trump is a wild card here.
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Max Cohen.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Monday, August 4th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, we've got some news. Democrats want the top 4 congressional leaders to meet this week to talk about government funding. Number two, what happened in the Senate over the weekend and how that could make for a messy September. And number three, we've got the latest in the redistricting wars. Texas Democrats bolted from the state over the weekend. Happy Monday, Max. Thanks so much for filling in for Jake this week.
Of course, it's August recess. Everyone's in a good mood. Senate's home, House is home, and we're here.
I love it. Well, we appreciate it. We are breaking some news here this morning that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries are asking for a Big Four meeting this week with Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Speaker Mike Johnson to talk about fiscal year 2026 funding. Hard to see a ton of work getting done over this August recess right after senators left. But what do you make of the effort by the Democrats to put some pressure here on Republicans to start the conversation when it comes to the government funding bills and potential CR, shutdown, etc.?
Yeah, I just think it's a reflection of how soon September 30th is going to come up, right? It seems like a long way away. It's just the first week of August. But remember, the House and Senate don't come back until the first week of September. And then it's going to be a mad dash to get any sort of deal done. And I think it's a reflection by Jeffries and Schumer that they want to get started on this early, and they do not want to wait till the last minute and get forced into a shutdown or even a CR.
But even the statement was pretty partisan, right? I mean, it wasn't like, hey, we should all get together. We want to find a way forward. I'm going to read from it. Therefore, we request you swiftly convene a so-called Four Corners meeting this week for the 4 of us to discuss the government funding deadline and the healthcare crisis you have visited upon the American people. That is Schumer and Jeffries in their note trying to get the 4 leaders together. So, I mean, you could already pretend that there is tension here when it comes to government funding. Democrats trying to find some leverage when they're really concerned about a potential shutdown, what that might mean if there's another rescissions package by the Trump administration. And I think also just if there were to be a shutdown, President Donald Trump is potentially he's hard to read. You know, where would he find pressure points? Or would he say, hey, actually, I'm going to use this opportunity of a shutdown to try to, claw back more government spending, to shut down and show that I feel like more of these agencies aren't actually necessary.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought up the partisan nature of the letter, because it's important to note that this is all about messaging right now. Because if there is a shutdown, and, our colleague Brez has been saying for months now that he thinks there's a high chance of that, it's all going to be about which party can win the messaging fight, which party can place the blame on the other party. Democrats can say now, hey, we reached out to Republicans way back when in August, and it's on them because they didn't get the deal done. I think that's what's going on here as well.
All right, well, we will see if they do actually have a meeting and if there's anything substantive that comes out of it, or if the Republicans bat out away saying this is just another push by Democrats to be partisan and not be worth actually meeting with. All right, Max, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning. Saturday's Senate meltdown. To recap here, it's important because I think a lot of people were already maybe started on their August recess, but over the weekend, Republicans frustrated by Democrats' slow walking of Trump's nominees. They got into basically a pretty aggressive back and forth. There was some negotiations happening with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, John Thune, the Majority Leader, and President Donald Trump that broke down after both sides seemed to think that they had a deal.
Exactly, yeah. So what happened was Trump basically said no to a deal which Thune and Schumer both had signed off on. And that's what's the most concerning thing I think about a potential shutdown, right? Is that even if you can get the Republicans and Democrats in the Senate on the exact same page, Trump is a wild card here. Now, the deal would have unlocked a bunch of nominees that Trump wanted done quickly, and it also would have unlocked some funding that the Trump administration was holding away from releasing out. This could be funding for foreign aid or funding for healthcare efforts, right? But Trump said, I don't want to do that. And instead, Senate left town. They confirmed around 10 nominees on Saturday, 3 on Friday. It was not like the 20 or 30, which was in the deal. And now they go home for August. And as you mentioned, right, the Trump factor here is key. He said no. He killed this deal.
It's so interesting because we saw this a lot in his first term where he would have his staff. I'm thinking a lot around the first tax bill. You know, you'd have the Treasury Secretary, you'd have the leaders at the time in the room making deals, but it was never done until President Donald Trump said it was done. And oftentimes, in good faith, people will be negotiating and coming to agreements that then the president wouldn't ultimately agree to or would change the terms of the deal. This has got to make not just, Democrats upset, but also be concerning for Senate Majority Leader John Thune when you come to government funding, when it comes to what is going to be the next turn of the screw, making sure that he doesn't lose credibility as well, right? Because at the end of the day, what this just shows once more to me is that this is Trump's Washington. Things get done or don't because of what he wants to happen.
Yeah. And Democrats were irate on Saturday. They thought they had a situation where they could claim a win, and they thought they had done a compromise with Republicans. And then they saw Trump turn around and say, this deal cannot be done. And looking forward to September, to the government funding fight, they're going to need Trump's sign off to get any kind of deal done. But Trump also has to realize you need 60 votes to pass a government funding bill. You need Democratic buy-in. What happened over the weekend was small potatoes compared to a government shutdown. And if it's any preview of what's going to happen later in the fall, it's going to be very difficult to get Trump, Thune, Schumer on the same page. And let's not even forget the House. We're not even talking about the House of Representatives here, who are marking up spending bills, way more cuts than the Senate has.
I think the other big thing here that is just important to note is there could be some expectation that Senate Republicans, frustrated by Democrats' unprecedented slow walking of nominees, will make a change to the rule. This will be a huge issue, will be seen as Republicans taking another kind of a nuclear option of moving forward on a partisan basis and how nominations go forward. But once again, Jeffrey Epstein played a role in what happened here in the Senate over the weekend. There was talk about, the GOP adjourning, allowing Trump to make recess appointments. But because of what had happened in the House and the fact that the House is basically paralyzed, this was going to be a big issue for them. The Senate actually did move forward into allowing Trump to make recess appointments.
Exactly. And it's kind of remarkable we're even still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and it's August 4th, but you're right, it's still paralyzing the House. The calculus here was the Senate was going to adjourn, and the House was going to also have to come back to vote to adjourn. And then Trump really would have had huge leeway to get his nominees across the line. But as you just said, Johnson and House leadership was afraid because if they brought the House back to get this adjournment vote, which would have helped Trump, there would have also likely been a Jeffrey Epstein files vote, which would have hurt Trump. And they made the decision that that wasn't worth it. So no recess appointments. Trump still has a pretty large backlog of over 100 nominees, but the House couldn't do it. The House could not unlock that extra power for Trump.
All right, let's go to the number 3 story of the morning. All roads point to Texas right now when it comes to the redistricting wars. Texas Democrats fled their state Sunday in an audacious attempt to block Republicans in the legislature from enacting a new congressional map. Democrats went to Illinois. They went to New York. This is getting to a real boiling point, Max.
100%. This is going to be one of the biggest stories of the week, Anna. And we had a really great preview in AM by Ali Mutnick, who has been all over the story from the start. But Democrats, they can run, but they really can't hide. I mean, this is a publicity stunt. Let's call it what it is. They're using every single tool in their toolbox to raise attention, to get people fired up, to get Democrats angry. But this is not a sustainable legislative strategy. One way or another, the Republican majority in Texas is going to likely pass these maps. This is only a short-term delay, but it will be a massive delay because we're going to have Pritzker, we're going to have Hochul, Newsom, all the Democratic governors of these big states who are also considering redistricting are going to insert themselves and say, if Texas does this, we Democrats in blue states are going to do the exact same right back to them.
And you've got the Republicans in Texas, the governor, the attorney general calling for the immediate arrest. I mean, things are certainly going to get ugly before they settle down here in Texas. We will be watching very closely to see what happens in the next moves for both Republicans and Democrats. We are going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by searching Punchbowl News. And as always, you can go deeper on all these stories and more by going to punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.